Welcome to your Daily Dose of Theological German. We're on installment number 12 of the Evangelist John here, excerpted from Ziefle's Graded Reader of Theological German. So, the Jewish dikaios, he's using these Greek terms from John's Gospel, obviously, and he really means kind of the categories within Jewish thinking of the righteous and sinful. And so this whole sentence is going to sound a bit strange, actually. You really need the context to understand what he's saying. And I'm not sure the context would make me translate it any differently, but the context does help you to know why he has this peculiar kind of statement that he's making. So he's really, the author here is discussing these Jewish categories of righteous and sinful. He's talking about John's Gospel, where Jesus is presented and described by John the Baptist as the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. And then he's talking about how, Jews aren't exempt from this, that in the previous sentence we just read that John isn't just dividing the Jewish community into righteous and sinners, or dividing the world even into righteous and sinners, with the Jews being the righteous and everybody else being the sinners. There's just nothing but sinners, and so that's all there is. And so that's kind of now what he's reflecting on here, that the Jewish righteous, this category of person within Judaism of the righteous, is completely missing. And so that's kind of what he's going to say here. But that's why these Greek words are here, but I'll just translate them as I go as well. So the Jewish righteous lacks completely, or is entirely missing. And the Jews only require sinful. So he's using these as labels, right? So the Jews only need the designation hamartolas. You don't need to have righteous and sinful. They're just part of the whole situation of humanity, which is, lost in sin in John's Gospel. And so that's all you need is hamartolas to describe the Jews. And that's kind of what he's saying in this first sentence. Then you have this da compound, which you're probably going to translate something like that is why. You could say they're concerning, but really that is why, or therefore. That is why no tax collector, no prodigal son appears in John, by which he means in John's Gospel. So as far as syntax and the words involved and so forth goes, this is really a very straightforward sentence. It doesn't require a whole ton of comment, but I will just point out, because there is kind of some interesting syntax. You've got two clauses in the first sentence, and they're conjoined by this conjunction here, which makes it so that the second half of the sentence is a main clause, just as the first half is. And so in both cases, your verb shows up in second position. Here, after the subject, the Jewish dikaios lacks, so the verb shows up there in second position. And then again, here you have first hamartolas, and then brauchen, the verb shows up there in second position. But in the second case, that first word, hamartolas, is not the subject of the sentence, and you know that. Well, I mean, you'd kind of have to know Greek to know that that's an adjective, first of all, and even if it was being used substantively, it's a singular. So it's helpful to know that, because your verb, of course, is plural, as you can see by the form there. And so you actually have to get the subject here, the Jews. And you know that this has got to be plural, because when you have D, it's either feminine or it's plural, one of the two. And of course, Jude is not Jude. Jude. Let's get my German straight. You can all feel good about yourselves, okay? That's why I leave these kind of things in here. Jude, it's like that Beatles song, Hey Jude. Anyways, oh man, we're really getting off track. The point being, der Jude is, of course, a singular masculine, and so if you have D, you know it's got to be plural, not feminine, obviously. Although, presumably, if you were talking about some Jewish women, you could have a feminine there as well. But you also know from the verb brauchen that is a plural form of the verb, and so you kind of have to put all that stuff together to make sure you know what's your subject and what's your object, because then in the end, hamartolas is actually the object of the sentence. And so that often happens in German, especially if it's the second clause in a sentence. They'll invert the subject-object word order, but the verb, of course, there is still in second position, which is how you know that's a main clause. And then you can just look for your subject and object accordingly. Anyway, I hope you found that helpful. As always, thank you for watching. It's the end of the week, and hopefully we'll finish this author up next week in the first couple of episodes of the week, and then we'll be on to something perhaps more terrifying, perhaps simpler. I don't know. We'll see what we end up with. If you have suggestions for things you would like to see gone through on the channel, please do put them in the comments. We're always looking for other content, other German stuff to read that would be interesting and profitable for keeping on top of our German reading skills. So have a good week.